On the 24th of March, I released a deep dive video about Alexis Blake's content and how I believe it to be dangerous. Now, at this point, I may have changed the title and the thumbnail to reflect this, but this is what it looked like at the point of uploading. Her original centrist takes actually are just right-wing talking points if you scratch a little bit beneath the surface. Well, within 24 hours of releasing that video, she did the unthinkable thing in the YouTube ecosystem. She hit my video and channel with a copyright strike. Not just a copyright claim, not just asking for monetization of those certain sections that used her content. She gave the entire video a strike. Now, 3 strikes on a channel and your whole entire channel is removed. The video itself is also going to be removed in 7 days, and there's nothing I can do to stop it because YouTube has a kind of semi-AI based system. So the only thing I can do is ask her to retract the copyright strike, which I have done so, and I've been ignored. But more on that later. I received no DM asking me to take any action. I received no email in advance, just the copyright strike without any prior notice. There was no attempt to communicate with me directly. The only thing we did see was a few comments from her in my comment section, but we'll get to that later in this video. To request a retraction, I asked Alexis Blake, with the email provided from the copyright strike, personally, if she would retract the copyright strike, because the clips I use of her content very much fall within fair use, or in the UK we call it fair dealings. And I quote, "Fair dealings, criticism or review. Copyright Designs and Patents Act 1988, Section 30, Paragraph 1 states that fair dealing exception is valid if the material is being copied for criticism or review." Trust me, I had a lot to criticize. Bear in mind, at the point of filming now, the video is nowhere near 3,000 views. That's the level of video that she deems worthy of striking from the internet. So there's nothing I can do. Even in YouTube's take action section, the only option available to me is to remove the video earlier than the 7 days it's given me. There's no even space for me to dispute this. She has just done the most powerful nuclear option that is available to her. So this is the so-called centralist that is happy to hear all sides of the argument, that thinks that disagreeing is okay and we should have a conversation and people can learn from their mistakes and grow. This is what she's really like. Silencing other trans people in the community, preventing any criticism of hers to be on the internet, and not even opening a discussion with me about further action that could be taken. She's just silencing other trans women. And even though it's still up, the fact that it has a copyright strike against it has meant that it's completely tanked in the algorithm. So she has already won. If you can, I implore you to go and still watch it. If it's still available at the point that you're watching this video, go and watch it for free. If not, it will still be available on my Patron, where I don't think she can strike me there, at least. So for a small fee, you can watch the whole video there. Honestly, this makes it more apparent that she doesn't want people to see what I said about her, and she has no way of physically reacting accordingly. So I implore you to go and watch it more than I would have before. Now, I really can't overstate the hypocrisy in all of this. Even in the video essay itself, I've specifically used clips where she says, "I'm happy to have a discussion. Things are, more nuanced than anything." She's very capable of sitting in dialogue and discussing further action. So why wasn't she capable of having a discussion with me about some of the points at least? Or even asking me to change certain things or reword certain things, which we'll get to because that also did happen. No, she's just decided to strike the entire thing. And the level of hypocrisy to the persona she puts out there, to the action she's doing behind the scenes, is wild, in my opinion. Now, I also want to talk about the double standard, because I'm not the first person to react to Alexis Blake, obviously. Let's talk about Marcus Dibb and Blair White. They both used her content and did a reaction about her. They're obviously way more right-leaning, so they are on the other side of things. I'm critiquing from the left. They are on the right. And as I added in my video essay, she very much reacted to their reactions. And I want to know personally, did she do the same copyright strike for their use of her content, or is it just me? And if so, I wonder why that could be. Not to mention the fact that Alexis Blake is predominantly at this stage a reaction channel. Almost every video on her channel is her reacting via her phone or some form of other device to content that she uses in her videos. So for her to copyright strike me for using her videos is a level of caucasity, audacity, hypocrisy that I just actually can't digest. Like, I'm gobsmacked at this. The amount of creators that she has reacted to without, say, in my opinion, very lukewarm, not really much to add takes, They could easily all send her the same strike, and 3 of those would mean her channel is gone. So for her to strike me is such an admission of her lack of ability to actually meet any of my critiques in a discussion, and instead is doing the only thing she can to silence me. The double standard is so real, I cannot even begin to explain. Not only, there's more. Not only that, when she sent the copyright strike, it had a small amount of time that YouTube had probably found like a clip of hers. Obviously they're throughout, but they're all in fair use and fair dealings, and YouTube does it automatically. I can't even, oh my God. The actual timestamps that the copyright strike claims are her content were 2 minutes 32 to 3 minutes 29. Now, if you still can, I implore you to go and watch it or watch the Patron version. That exact timestamp is when she is sitting silently watching a Blair White clip. And Blair White is reacting to Rosa Montoya, another trans creator. Alexis Blake doesn't say a word in that timestamp, which just shows you how good YouTube is at actually working out who's using what clip. So for her to have the cognitive dissonance of reacting to a clip that is reacting to another clip and think it's okay for her, when I use that clip, to strike my channel with a copyright strike is a level of audacity and hypocrisy. I just can't. Give me some more words for this. Make it make sense, Alexis. For her to think it's acceptable to do a copyright strike, 3 of which would remove my entire channel, when she's reacting to someone in the clip itself that was stamped, is like, wow, okay. This is interesting. We'll call it that. Interesting. Also, we also just have to talk about the sizes of our channels. My channel subscriber count is not even at 10,000 and hers is just under 100,000. There are 10 times more subscribers to her channel and she gets frequently more views than I do, of course. For her to punch down in this way and not be able to handle a video with 3,000 views that has some criticism of her, and yet still have an entire channel based off reacting to other people's content, is so hypocritical that, again, I can't even make it make sense. Someone please. Now let's talk about the comments section, because as much as I say she didn't say anything to me, she did leave one of the most passive aggressive comments I've ever seen in my life. Both her and her husband, within 24 hours of the video, sent a single heart emoji into my comments. It was just kind of like a little tap. I was like, hey, we're here, we see you, boo. I was like, okay, well, I was actually honestly expecting a heart and then a kind of some form of a response after she'd clearly watched it, bringing some critiques in, and then maybe we'll have a discussion from there. Maybe that would be it. Maybe she'd react to it on her channel, and that was it. Like, I thought she was adult enough to actually listen to some critiques about her. Apparently not. Now, someone that did take the time to form a somewhat adult response was her husband, Liam, which I will put on here. Should I read it out, actually? Let's read it out. That's a good point. It will be removed by the end of the month, so... Okay, we're going to read through. So, Liam Blake originally said, "To begin with, your claim that you stumbled upon that episode of our podcast is implausible, given that the video in question was delisted over a year ago. Equally interesting in your decision to omit the subsequent videos in which we directly addressed the issue and revised our position on JK. Furthermore, you neglected to include multiple instances in which Alexis also explicitly acknowledges her mistakes and affirms her belief that J.K. Rowling's views are in fact transphobic. Alexis has never presented herself as infallible or perfect. She has consistently taken accountability for errors, tone deafness, or generally any content that did not land well. You come across very intelligent, and I actually find your content quite engaging. Thanks, Liam. That being said, rather than engaging with her in good faith, maybe a conversation or interview to explore these matters more thoroughly, you instead chose to characterize my wife as dangerous, a description that is, at the very least, is disingenuous or at worst extremely defamatory. I mean, an opinion can't be defamatory, but we'll come back to that. It's a shame because that open conversation between you both would have made a great watch. Have a gorgeous day." Okay, so an actual adult response. Well done, Liam, for at least doing that. It's a shame your wife wasn't capable of the same. So I responded accordingly. Thanks for your comment. For the JK podcast episode, it's unlisted, but still accessible to anyone that clicks on the podcast. It even plays automatically next in the podcast queue. Otherwise, how else would I have been able to find it? maybe just removing it from the list in the podcast will remove it for good, or turning it to private instead of unlisting. Let me get the evidence for that. Now, let me bring the receipt. So, just to back up my claim, as you can see from the screenshot I took, the episode I'm very much capable of clicking on, otherwise how would I have been able to watch it, has unlisted at that point. So, there you go. I agree. There are several moments where you have both explained that your views have changed, but the previous content is still on her channel for anyone to watch. So anyone can still watch her old reactions to other trans women and see your right-leaning opinions. So as much as she may have changed her opinions and addressed them, if you keep that same content on YouTube and it's still getting views, it's like it doesn't really have the same effect. People will still see that opinion and make their opinions accordingly. Also, let me be clear, it's her content that I'm claiming is dangerous, not her as a person. Anyone could take some of her views and assume that they are the norm, but they aren't actually. Non-binary people exist and are a part of the trans community. Internet people, intersex people exist, and biological sex is not just male and female. These are points that Alexis, to this day, as far as I can tell, still continues to push. I do respect this good faith comment though, and I meant what I said, that a conversation is also on the table. Either in private or on camera, she's welcome to reach out to me, or all three of us can have a chat too. Thanks. It's two adults talking about things. To which he continued, in your description you state unequivocally that she is dangerous. I would ask that you amend this to more accurately reflect your previous comment. This statement itself is a defamatory comment, a very powerful one with no room for interpretation. I'm pretty sure that that's a very standard statement, and if you can't say that without it being defamatory, then what can you say on the internet? Anyway, so I didn't respond to this because it was too long and it was late at night, to be perfectly honest, and it didn't look like he had much to say other than what we had originally just said, but I did change the description of the video, which I have receipts here for you. It's time for a deep dive. Alexis Blake is a trans content creator from the UK, and she appears as a centrist at first. This aged so well, considering she struck my channel. I'm taking you on a ride through all the reasons as to why her content is dangerous. So I updated the description, which I also added, by the way, in as a point in the request for her to retract the copyright strike. I added a paragraph saying, your husband also requested quite fairly an amendment to the description, which I adhered to, and I have no qualms in doing so. I hope that the mutual respect and understanding will be maintained when I ask you to retract the copyright strike against the whole video. Speaking of husbands, whilst it's lovely that Alexis has a husband that is willing to fight her battles for her in the comments section, I do wonder what the point was of him asking me to change the description in the video only for her to do the copyright strike to have the video removed in its entirety. Regardless, I listened to what he had to say and I updated my description accordingly, because his critique was fair and I'm willing to admit that. There's a difference between saying Alexis Blake is dangerous and Alexis Blake's content is dangerous, and my opinion is the latter. That's all, of course, my opinion. Problem solved, or at least I thought. A few hours after this, I had the copyright strike. But it's not like Alexis Blake was nowhere to be found in the video. She left the passive-aggressive heart like Liam did earlier, like I mentioned, but she was also found replying to random people in my comment section about different points that they had raised. Some weren't even points I made myself in the video. One being her recent coverage of the trans shooter, I think in Canada, and how she originally had the wrong person in her thumbnail and she updated it. Now bear in mind, none of this was in my original video, but she found the time to reply several times to the person in question that raised this very valid point. The reason the last screenshot of this is a different background is because they were arguing for so long. I had left what I was doing and gone to bed. The funniest part is that one of the last comments she left was, I quote, "You come across very shouty and seemingly uninterested in engaging in a civil or constructive exchange, so I'll leave this here." Now I have 2 points, Alexis. How can someone come across shouty in messages on YouTube? And second of all, you seem uninterested in engaging in civilized and constructive exchange. Thanks for the copyright strike without any notice or reaching out to me by message or email. It's a shame you can't hold yourself to your own accountability. And finally, something that I don't quite have the ability to prove anything, so I'm just going to throw this in here after the comment section of this video. But in this same time period, on the same day, I had a new patron join. Now bear in mind, I haven't had a new patron in a while. I've taken a break from YouTube and not many people are joining Patreon these days. by now. If you want to, please do. But for the first time in a while, I had someone join. I jumped for joy at my lowest tier being bought, and I found someone called Anon had joined my lowest tier of patron, only to then cancel 2 minutes later. Now, I'm not gonna surmise who I think that might be. I will leave that to the audience's discretion. I will say that the email address was different to the one from the copyright strike, but it's 2026. Who doesn't have 2 emails? That's as far as I'll take it. That's all I will say. But to whoever you are, thank you, Anon, for purchasing my patron for 2 to 3 minutes. I hope you got everything you needed, and I have a feeling that you did. All this to say, I think it's very clear that my opinion is Alexis Blake in this situation was very hypocritical. In many of her videos that I reacted to in the essay, she frequently talks about how she wants to have a conversation. She can understand both sides. She thinks that people are okay to disagree and they should hash out in the comment section. But she wasn't able to stay to that level of accountability when someone was bringing the criticism to her. Now, I'm not going to float my own trumpet or blow my own boat, but I will say that potentially the format in which I had brought critique to Alexis Blake's content was the form in which she wasn't able to so easily react, give a quick response and move on. It was systematically breaking down what's the problem with her content. She is unable to respond or react accordingly. So she did the worst thing she could think of doing and gave me the copyright strike to silence me, silencing other trans women in the community. That's a real goal for 2026, Alexis Blake. Congratulations. Speaking of goals for 2026, she also won Influencer of the Year via Gadio, which is like a LGBTQI plus radio station. I would love to know Gadio's response to hearing that Alexis Blake is copyright striking and silencing anyone that critiques her, predominantly on the left, and if award of Influencer of the Year should really go to someone of that caliber. The same could be said for Cosmopolitan UK. They were recently in an article and they're all over the Cosmopolitan Instagram feed, specifically spotlighting trans voices after the UK Supreme Court did what it did. I wonder if they would be proud to know that they're spotlighting someone that is actively silencing trans women in the community, actively having their videos removed that criticises them. Now, all that's left to say is please go and watch it if you still can. As far as I'm aware, the removal is going to happen around the end of the month, depending on what time zone you're in. So you have, if from the point of release, you might still have a few days. If not, you can find the video in full on my Patreon. Equally, if you have a platform yourself, you're a creator on YouTube, or you're in direct communication with any of the other creators in this community, please feel free to spread the word, because this doesn't just set a bad precedent for me and my channel. It sets a precedent that, like, reacting to anyone on YouTube could have a strike on your channel. And if everyone lived by that really hypocritical ideology, no one would be able to react to anything, and it brings the same questions in that we've seen with even huger, larger channels that have fought and won in the court about how fair use and fair dealings should stand. It does link to freedom of speech, but it also just links to the whole ecosystem of YouTube. Someone that reacts to the extent that Alexis Blake does, I'm surprised she doesn't seem to be aware of this, because imagine if just 3 creators that she reacted to all did the same copyright strike to her channel would cease to exist straight away. She knows exactly what she's done. She knows how hypocritical it is. And yet she's willing to do that to me to silence my critique against her, instead of facing it head on. I even said in the reply to Liam's comment, I'm happy to have a discussion on or off camera. I'm happy to talk about these things. But she didn't want to do that. Instead, she just wants the whole entire video to go away. All 3,000 views of it. I am tempted to release a version without any of her content in. Now, it's 1 hour and 20 minutes. That's going to be quite hard to do. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see me do a bit of a Jessie Gender and act out some of the scenes she's in. I could have some fun with it, make it very tasteful, but I am that level of petty, and I will go to that. I will go to those lengths to get this video out there. I don't want it to just not be available on YouTube. I worked a lot on it, and I think the criticisms I have are also very valid. So if you would like to see that, let me know in the comments. I think we could have some fun there, but we'll see. Whilst it is lovely that Alexis has a husband who is willing to fight her battles for her in the comments section.
You're incredible.
I do wonder